voice, I don't need the microphone. That was one of my God's gifts. I'm Eileen Lochran. I'm a member of the parish. I've been here 8 years now, and I moved here from Palos Verdes, where I was the director of religious ed and the person that did a lot of things. I try each month that we meet, to give something inspirational, something to reflect on, something timely. And I went and looked. I thought about last week's readings, and we read from Mark last week. And Mark's gospel is different than the other ones, as it is the same in many ways as Luke and Matthew, but it's unique in some ways. It has no infancy narrative. It never talks about where Jesus came from. He does give you John the Baptist, and then all of a sudden you're in public ministry. And he talked, but the thing I remembered most about last week was the first reading from Genesis. It was the reading of Adam and Eve. Well, recently I was in, you would understand this, in the library at Auberge, and we were cleaning it out, and I found an old textbook that I had had at graduate school, written by Lawrence Boat, who's a priest out of New York, who wrote a book on the Old Testament. So I was so excited I could give a whole lesson on Adam and Eve out of Lawrence Boat's book. But when we look at that, we have different ideas, and I thought, no, I don't want to focus on Adam and Eve. This is our last gathering over the summer. We'll meet at church, I'm sure, but we won't meet formally on Wednesdays. So I thought I'd kind of think about, what do we want to talk about? Mark tells us to love God and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. I think women sometimes have the hardest time with loving yourself. Even in just idle conversations, we talk about what responsibilities we have in our homes, with our children, grandchildren, all kinds of things that become our responsibility. It's a challenge. And loving ourselves is sometimes the part of the challenge. It's sometimes easier to love our neighbor. I do want you to think about and reflect on the second part of that, love of self. I always thought it was kind of selfish of me, or I was self-indulgent, I was doing the wrong thing. But Jesus told us that in Mark's gospel, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So it's a good thing to do. It's a positive thing to do. Do we fail to take care of ourselves? Health-wise, emotionally, physically? Oh well, the kids needed something, or the grandkids need something, or my husband needs something, or have to take care of that. Do we eat properly? This sounds silly. Is that what God's talking to you about when he says, love your neighbor as you love yourself? Eating properly, that's a real challenge to me. I don't do it very well. Do you get enough sleep? Now these are questions that I didn't think of all by myself. I have a nun friend who wrote all of this down for me, because sometimes I forget to think about those things. That's my God-given responsibility. Do you work too much? Do you take on too many projects? Too many volunteering? Do you get stressed? Oh no, of course none of us get stressed. That's certainly unacceptable in today's world. Do you get nervous and upset about some of the responsibilities you have? Maybe you even get angry about it. You take it out on someone else. I have stories in my family that could tell you that one. I would be the one that get angry, and ooh, not good. Do you have fun times? What do you do for fun? For play? For yourself? Do you remember your prayers? Sometimes we get so busy with all we're doing, God's not anywhere in our lives. We have all the things to do. Jesus assumes that I love myself and I am good to myself. And I pray that all of us think of that as the summer starts, when responsibilities are kind of waning, some of the programs are stopping. Think about yourself. It's a responsibility. And I think I don't hear anybody preach that. It's basic. It's be good to others and be thankful for the flowers. Just look at the lovely centerpieces and just be thankful for the flowers. Do you take time to be thankful for what's right in front of your nose? Always think kindly of yourself, as well as you think kindly of others. And it's not selfishness or false pride. Do it within proportion of who you are and what you can do. And I think that's what God says to us. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. I'm out there cooking meals for somebody else and whatever, and my family, and I'm starving because I don't do what I need to do for me. We all do that. Put it in perspective. If we're not kind and considerate to our own person, how can we be kind and considerate to other people? Just think about that. I took this idea from my friend Joyce Roop, my nun friend. I'm going to sit down. She did a whole thing on love yourself. And her prayer is this: loving Creator, you have made us in your image and likeness. Our deepest being reflects your goodness. Nudge me to be kind to myself and to take good care of the gift that I am. Happy summer. Amen.
Amen.